What's going on, guys? This is Remember with Level 1 News, and Panasonic came out with a new rugged device this year. It is Panasonic A3 Toughbook Tablet. So this one, is supposed to be really for the field worker, the essential worker, but there's a lot of different things that you can definitely use this for. So I'm gonna dive right in. Hardware sports a 10.1-inch display. It's 1920 by 1080. So it doesn't do 4K or anything. It's not necessarily intended for that. The screen looked good as we were using it. It has a Snapdragon 660 processor, which is also really good for that kind of user. Sporting also a Android 9.0, which this is something to note on. The essential worker or the military worker, depending if they're on the field or not, doesn't benefit normally from the most up-to-date iOS or the most up-to-date software. So speaking like Android 10 or 11, 9.0 is actually going to work really well, and especially for what's happening here. It has a ton of different ports, and it has a barcode reader, which I'll get into right now. So basically the ports are labeled as A1, A2, A3 in the front. There's a set of physical buttons that you get in the front, and that being where your hands normally lie. There's a left and right button, or just specific side buttons. Those aren't really, they're kind of mapped with a sort of key frame, but you can go into the software and actually map them to anything that you'd want. We actually mapped one of the buttons to open up the camera app, another button to open up a specific program. So they're really good to set macros. And depending on the type of user, whether it's military, firefighter, or anything, you can get to exactly what you need with one click. What's really good about this device and what separates it from other devices is the fact that Panasonic supports it. Android supports it in a sort of rugged template that they have going, but Panasonic has the Productivity Plus. It's sort of a suite or collection of Android type apps and solutions specifically catered towards that rugged user or specific essential kind of user while they're on the field. What's cool about this, it actually has a set where you can bring your legacy programs or apps into this specific device without losing anything. It happens relatively easy. So for people that are using either Toughbooks or, depending on the situation, older devices that they've been using for a couple of years, and you obviously have to update and bring things in, and you can lose data. This doesn't necessarily do that, and kind of have the stuff that you need without losing any data at all. What's really cool about the device too is that you could use this in different settings. So whether you're using gloves, whether there's water splashed on it, or you want to use the pen that's attached that you also see here, you can use it in different sort of settings where you just have to press the power button, hold it, and you would see that menu kind of come up, and then you could change it from here and there. We've used it with the pen and sort of with water on it, and so it does let you navigate, and it works pretty well for what it's doing. Also with gloves, it depends on the thickness, but you can use really thick gloves with them as well. So this is technically for that stuff, so you're not kind of hot swapping gloves in and out, because you need to be using it on the field. Panasonic also said that they'd be supporting these kinds of devices for a number of years. This one specifically, they should be having security updates and software patches from anywhere between 3 to 5 years. Like I said before, you're coming from another sort of old device, and then obviously the legacy program kind of lives in that whole ecosystem. They kind of want you to do that, where you have this device for a few years before you upgrade. If you do want newer devices, you could get them, but it doesn't feel like there's support abandoned by that. So when we finally took this outside, we right away saw that the viewing screen looked really good in actual light. It has 800 nits of brightness. That's only really 200 down from having HDR if it had 4K, but that's sort of just a reference on the fact that it's really bright when you're looking at things outside, whether it's on medium, but I know that when we cranked it up, it got really bright from there. Segueing onto the fact that it was bright, obviously, with the more brightness you use, it drains a bit more of the battery, but I would like to say that the battery on this is actually really good. As you can see, there's 2 areas where there's 2 swappable batteries that you can pop in and out. Each one has about 3,200 milliamps of power in them, So, you know, together it's 6,400, but you could swap these out and then even put in ones that have about 5,500 milliamps for each one. So that brings the total up to 11,000, which is really good. But for 6,400, that's good. And also you can change out each component of the battery separately. The device doesn't really power down. It just kind of gives you an indication that it's like, hey, one battery sort of missing. Do you want to like replace it? Which you can charge them. Or you just start swapping them, you know, before you continue to do your work. So that's really cool that there's not a lot of devices, hell, I think, if not any devices for a tablet that have two separate batteries on it to do such a thing. There are cameras on both sides of the device, and you know, front facing and back facing camera lets you do, you know, picture taking and stuff. There's nothing really extensive in this category except for the fact that you can obviously take basic pictures on the field, things that you necessarily need to do, buildings, different things like that, that someone would just need to get a clear picture of what's actually happening, and then even a front-facing camera. But that's, you know, the quality is not great on them. They're just really decent, but there's no real use case for that other than what I just mentioned. And then if you're listening to something, this thing goes loud. We actually tested it, which you could also see here. Like that. Well, has been around for a while, and their TMA2 line, TMA-2 line, basically lets you do that. While they have some configurations kind of pre-made, their biggest thing is the fact that you can build out your own and have a modular design set of headphones. It gets really loud, you know, whether you're outside, whether you're inside. We ran a video or two on it, and when you crank it up, it's just like the actual speaker that's in the front is something that, you know, you can hear this thing from like a really far distance away. People were actually shocked around us when we were doing our hike that it got that loud. So keep in mind, this is really for the construction worker, the essential worker, military folks, people on the field, that use case. There's no other device really that you should be able to turn to. I feel like there are some devices like some Asus and stuff like that, or Acer that does sort of these tough devices, but this one is essentially like your go-to device for that. Now, obviously I can't put myself in those situations of being like an essential worker, but I wouldn't, you know, I feel like that we still got a good impression from what this can do even without that. And we took it on a few hikes where we're pretty much in rocky areas with water and stuff around, and we, you know, it's a device that if I take it around and I take it out, I don't necessarily feel any sort of danger. There's an IP65 rating, so you know, it's water resistant. Didn't have a fear of dropping it in water as long as it wasn't gonna go down to like the bottom of the water or ocean. Just having it around seemed like it was good to use. Obviously you could put your SIM card and stuff in it, so if you needed internet for anything specific, it is definitely something that I could see myself just taking around, taking it in high places, very remote spots, and I'd be able to use the device. Now with that, obviously with the camera that I mentioned, it's not insane, so I wouldn't take any real scenery shots like this would be amazing. That you would need to do with something else. So the bottom line is that the Panasonic A3 should be your rugged tablet device of choice if you're looking for that sort of thing. I wouldn't be scared if you're not one of, you know, the people that I've listed that necessarily this is built for. If you're on any sort of real adventure, any sort of real hiking, you know, you can definitely take this and not feel like there's that much that, you know, you can't experience where you'd feel scared that it would break or it would get broken. You know, you'll be able to use this as normal. I feel like I'd be taking this into a few like remote island trips and stuff like that, just because I have around for relatively lightweight as well, so it's not sort of weighing you down when you're taking it with you. And for those that think that this would obviously be a device that they, you know, they think there's some point of it or whatever that would be fragile, you know, put it to the test. I know that we did a couple of times. All right, guys, I hope you like this review. Definitely like, subscribe, comment below. Let us know what you think. If you want us to do more reviews on things like tough devices, put it more in its paces and show you that. Check out all our other different things, streams and everything. This is Remy with Level 1 News. I'll see you guys later.